Hi guys, my name is Judenal Ahmad John and number is RCB2211020033. Today I'm going to present about introduction of election in Malaysia. So, Malaysia was known as a country that practiced a parliamentary democratic system of government. So, in Malaysia, there are three parts. The division of power are separate into three parts, which is the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. So, parliament democracy is formed as a result of the election process. The people in Malaysia are given a mandate to choose their leader or a leader to represent them, and this leader also will be the people who will be representative in the parliament. There are two types election in Malaysia, which is a general election and state election. The general election will be held every 5 years after this dissolution of parliament automatically. This general election involves all Malaysian citizens, so they will vote and choose their leader to represent them or representative at the parliament later. But the state election will also be held every 5 years after the dissolution of state parliament automatically. This state election only involves the people who stay in the state only. It means it doesn't involve all Malaysian citizens, including in East Malaysia or people that live in Sarawak or people live in Sabah. People or Malaysian citizens who can vote during the election day later is individual aged 18 and above according to the latest constitution. And the candidate with the most voters or votes is considered as the winner, and the political party who win the election will choose their leader to be a prime minister and guide or lead the government in Malaysia.
In Malaysia, there are two types of election, which is federal level and state level. The federal level election is to determine the Dewan Rakyat, which is the House of Representatives and the lower house of Parliament. At the federal level, voters participate in election to elect the 222 member of House of Representatives of the bicameral parliament practice in Malaysia. The party that has a majority, the House of Representatives, will form the federal government. At the state level, election is voted to elect the representative to the Dewan Undangan Negeri, State Legislative Assembly. Members are also elected from single member constituency select based on the first past the post system. Most of the time, state elections are held with parliamentary election, but each state can decide when to elect. This is because the election is under advice of the respective rulers or governor on the device of the state chief of minister.
Okay, hi. Next is procedure and requirements. A procedure is an action or way of proceeding in any action or process. Whereas for requirements is something that is mandatory or necessary in the election. For procedure, election in Malaysia include election to public office of the political entities that since 1963 have composed the Federation of Malaysia. Now, election in Malaysia exists at two levels, which is federal level and state level. Federal level elections are those for membership in the House of Representatives, the lower house of Parliament, while state level elections are for membership in the various state legislative assemblies. The heads of executive branch at both the federal and state levels, the Prime Minister and President or Chief Ministers, respectively, are indirectly elected, usually filled by a member of the majority party or coalition in the respective legislative. Next is for requirements, which is for voters. Okay, all citizens who have reached the age of 18 and above are eligible to be registered as voters. Meanwhile, the condition to be automatically registered as a voter are Malaysian citizens residing at the same address as in identification card and not disqualified as a voter according to the law. The information also can be checked through the owner register review portal. Requirement in election is before marking our election party, we will be asked to provide an identification card first. Okay, this is because identification card must be shown to the officer to verify the voter's call. If your information is not the same, then you can be fined. Next, election postal voting regulation means the elections, the Postal Voting Regulation 2003 general election means the first general election of members of the House of Representatives or of a state legislative assembly or a general election of members of the solution of thereof. Political party means any society registered under the Societies Act 1963, Act 335, which the Election Commission is satisfies is a political party. Within the meaning of the Act, polling agent means a polling agent appointed under Section 14 of the Election Offence Act 1954. Postal ballot paper and postal voter have the same meanings as in the election. Postal voting regulation, rejected ballot paper has the meaning assigned to it. Of eligible postal voters include those working overseas, the police and the military. This is for candidates. Okay, the requirements during the nomination must be emphasized during the selection. The selected candidate must be someone who has never committed any crime in his life. Apart from that, the candidate must also be a sane person and a Malaysian citizen and resident in the Federation at the time of nomination. Also, election candidates also must be 21 years of age or older. Every candidate shall at the time of his nomination and in the manner described deliver to the returning officer the original copy of a statutory declaration of his qualification made and subscribed by him as set out in Form 5 or 5A as the case may be in the first schedule and a deposit or deposit receipt. A candidate or some person on his behalf shall deposit or cause to be deposited with the returning officer or the state elections officer between the date of the notice of election referred to in Regulation 3 and 10 o'clock in the forenoon on the day of nomination, the sum of 10,000 ringgit in the case of an election to the Dewan Rakyat, or the sum of 5,000 ringgit in the case of an election to a state legislative assembly in cash, bank draft, or any other form as may be determined by the Election Commission. Receive or the deposit paid under sub-regulation from a candidate, the returning officer or the state election officer shall proceed in accordance with the current government financial regulation on the deposit so paid by the candidate shall be dealt with in accordance with this regulation. A candidate is not shown as standing nominated in the notice of contested election referred to in sub-regulation. A candidate withdraws his candidature before 10 o'clock in the forenoon on the day of nomination after a deposit was made under sub-regulation. A candidate is not shown as standing nominated in the notice of contestant election. The deceased candidate's legal personal representative if the deposit was made by the candidate or if not made by the candidate to the person by whom the deposit was made. Other than in the cases referred to in sub-regulation, a deposit made under sub-regulation shall be written by the state election officer. First, to the candidate or person by whom the deposit was made, or if the candidate has died, to his legal personal representative if the deposit was made by the candidate, or if not made by the candidate, to the person by whom the deposit was made, as soon as practicable after the result of the election has been declared.
Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Fihili, Marai Anak Rantai from Group 2, which is an assignment about election. So for my part is about voters. Voting is a method by which a group, such as a meeting or an electorate, can engage for the purpose of making a collaborative decision or expressing an opinion, usually following discussion, debates, or election campaign. Democrats elect holder of high office by voting, resident of a jurisdiction represented by unelected official are called constituent, and the constituent who choose to cast a ballot for their chosen candidates are called voter. There are different systems for collecting votes, but while many of our system used in decision making can also be used a electoral system in which cater can proportional representation can only be used in election. In a democracy, the government is elected by the people who vote in an election. A way for the electorate to elect, choose among several different candidates. It is small. It is more than likely that election will be between two opposing parties. These two will be the most established and the most popular parties in the country. A voter must be registered with the Election Commission before he can vote in the election for the Dewan Rakyat and the state legislature. A person ineligible to register is a Malaysian citizen, not less than 18 years of age, in years on the eligibility date, a resident of any electoral division of Malaysia. There are two types of registration, namely new registration, and which is first time voter registration, and electoral division change registration, which is the application of the registered voter. Okay, how the person lost voter eligibility. An elector will be disqualified if he is on the date of qualification, arrested from insanity, or serving a prison sentence. In addition, before eligibility dates has been found guilty and sentenced to death and imprisoned for a period of more than 12 months, and it's still being sentenced on the eligibility dates. Subsequently found guilty under the Election of Official Act 1954 and has acquired foreign citizenship. Now we move to electoral rolls. The electoral rolls shall, unless the election commission shall otherwise direct, be combined with the register from parliamentary elector and state elector maintenance under the Election Act 1955
Act 19 for the purpose of preparing the electoral rolls relating to the first general election to any local council held under this Act. The Election Commission may use such part of the second electoral rolls relating to parliamentary or state constitutions as related to many polling districts situated within the local area of such its council. Okay, we move to power of the election commission to make regulation for the registration of electors. The election commission may take regulation for the registration of elector and for all matters incidental thereto, without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing power. Such regulation may pres- prescribe the keeping and maintenance of electoral rolls in the local area or in any electoral wards of division of the local area and the form of such roll. Pres- prescribe the procedure to be followed in the preparation and publication of electoral rolls therein. Prescribe the time of which an electoral roll shall be revised and procedure to be followed in making revision. Prescribe the procedure to be followed in the preparation and publication of new electoral rolls of any electoral wards or division where the boundaries of such one or division have been altered so where such ward or division has been created after the preparation of electoral rolls. Prescribe the procedure to be followed in the making and determination of claims to have any names instant in an electoral rolls or in a new or revision electoral rolls and of the objective to the insertion or inclusion of any names therein. That's all from me. Thank you.
As we know, candidates who follow the contest have many conditions that need to be followed during voting day or before voting day. A candidate must prepare the deposit. The deposit shall be returned as soon as practicable by the state election officer between the date of the notice of election referred to in the regulation 3 and 10 o'clock in the forenoon on the day of nomination. A candidate required to pay electoral authority before they are permitted to stand for election. If the candidate fails to submit a deposit of campaign material, it is not allowed to install or display any election campaign material. A candidate is not shown as standing nominated in the notice of contested election referred to in sub-regulation. Every candidate must have a good discipline. A good discipline reflects a candidate who is eligible to participate in the election. Good discipline also helps not to spoil the voting day and after voting day. Besides that, all candidates should at the time of his nomination. This is because to facilitate the nomination process in the manner described in sub-regulation delivered to the returning officer the original copy of statutory declaration of his qualification met. Candidate also can allow to withdraw his candidature after 10 o'clock in the forenoon on the day of nomination. A candidate should follow the rules as they have been said. If candidate not follow the rules, it may be disrupt the nomination process. The contesting candidate should know that the proposer and seconder should be registered for the constituency. The nomination paper shall also be the respective signature of, of the candidate, which is the proposer, the seconder, and other. Failure to comply with sub-regulation or shall render the nomination paper liable to be rejected by returning officer. Any omission in stating the candidate names or name of to print of the ballot paper. Any error or omission which is capable of being correct and is corrected upon being brought to the attention of the person presenting the nomination paper. Any clerical or printing error in the nomination paper, if the error is not of any material significance. That's all from me. Thank you.
So the conclusion is this election in Malaysia was provide information about type of election, procedure in requirements, voters and candidates of the election process in Malaysia. The last year election is the culmination of years experience by the election commissions to ensure that people are given their rights to vote for their candidates in a free and just manner. So I hope that the Malaysian government also will be a good leader and lead us and lead all the Malaysian citizens and achieve our objective and our mission to make Malaysia a better. Thank you.